that down, let's move on and talk about this, shall we? I was just talking about with the Blade thing that Kevin Feige did a pretty exhaustive and pretty big interview. And one of the things that he covered was the casting of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, particularly talking about X-Men, but also existing characters like Tony Stark and like Steve Rogers. Variety ran this headline that says this: Marvel plans to recast the X-Men and eventually Tony Stark after Avengers Secret Wars, but reboot is a scary word, Kevin Feige says. And I'm going to scroll down here to where he starts talking about this in particular. Now, the article goes on to kind of mention the fact that, of course, in Doomsday and Secret Wars, we're going to have a bunch of these classic X-Men. James Marsden is coming back to play Cyclops. Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, Kelsey Grammer, on and on. We're going to get a lot of them back. But don't think for a second that means any of them are actually going to be our X-Men in this new iteration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Variety writes, in future films, however, X-Men characters who appeared in previous movies will be played by new actors, along with mutants making their big screen debut. The decision echoes changes in the composition in the composition of the Marvel Comics following the 2015 Secret Wars storyline, which involved multiple timelines collapsing and reconverging, mixing up the characters of the main Marvel timeline in the process. Now, one of the other things that he goes on to say is that at some point, we're going to see a new actor playing Tony Stark. And he does not say it's going to be a rebooted universe. He actually specifically says, listen, other franchises have done it, and he's not wrong. Other franchises, whether it's James Bond, Harry Potter, on and on, Doctor Who, other franchises have changed actors, and it's worked out fine. And he specifically gave some mention to Tony Stark being somebody else, to Steve Rogers being somebody else. Rob, it is difficult for us to imagine anybody playing Tony Stark other than Robert Downey Jr., because that's all we've ever seen.
And he's so good at it.
And he's so good at it. It's very difficult for us to imagine anybody else playing Steve Rogers other than Chris Evans, because that's all I've ever seen, and he was really good at it.
Really good at it.
Now, you saw some James Bonds who were pretty damn good James Bonds then go on and be replaced as well.
Sure.
I don't think we're surprised, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, I don't think we're surprised to hear Kevin Feige say, after the next couple of Avengers movies, the X-Men are not going to be the same actors that have played them before. I don't think we're surprised to hear that. I think we all kind of guessed that their presence in the new Avengers movies was probably temporary at best. So I don't think that surprises us. What does surprise me a little bit is to hear him go on to say that other Marvel characters could be played by other actors. Now, the advantage that gives Marvel, much like The Simpsons, Rob, one of the reasons Simpsons been able to last 732 years is because Bart never ages.
Yeah.
Maggie never ages. Lisa never ages. Grandpa is still alive. Mr. Burns can still be alive. Because of the timeless nature of that, those characters are always whatever age you want them to be. Same is true with James Bond. I mean, if Timothy Dalton was still playing James Bond would be approaching 80 years old. But because they recast, he is always whatever age they want James Bond to be. And trying to look on the bright side of it, by being willing to recast, and it's not like Robert Downey Jr. only played Tony Stark once or twice. I mean, he played him for well over a decade, more than a decade.
Also with him, it's intrinsic because it saved his career,
it totally saved his career.
So we look at that role as something that saved him from that era of drug abuse, and he was like, people laughed at the idea.
Oh, and that's why Jon Favreau had to actually dig in his heels and kind of fight with some Marvel execs at the time. And the Marvel execs weren't wrong to be worried about it. Because remember, he had a comeback. A lot of people forget this. Robert Downey Jr. started a comeback and he was doing really well. And he was on a really popular show at the time. Remember Ally McBeal?
Yep.
And things were going really well. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ally McBeal fires Robert Downey Jr. He fell back into his like drug habits and whatever it was, and they had to fire him. So he lost his career again. Then he got another comeback, and that was here with a real comeback. I mean, he had a couple of smaller projects for sure, but the real comeback was getting to play Iron Man. But being willing to now swap out the actor means that you don't have to worry about addressing that Iron Man is now 60 or that Steve is getting ready to turn 50. Iron Man, like in the animations, like in the comic books, Tony can always be whatever age range they want him to be. And then maybe if the MCU is still going in 20 years, they can recast it again. Now, look, I'm painting a pretty picture and I'm looking at it on the positive side. Whenever they do decide to bring back in Tony Stark, and listen, if you're going to have a Marvel movie universe, you got to have Iron Man. If you're going to have a Marvel movie universe, you have to have Captain America. You got to have Steve Rogers. Whenever they do it, Rob, no matter who they cast, it's going to be jarring at first, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody doubts, even the most optimistic of people will doubt that it will be jarring at first. But it might end up being the right move for them in the long term. Because Rob, if you were to ask me, what would I rather have Marvel do? Just reboot the universe or recast some roles? I would kind of prefer them just to recast and keep the history. But I don't know. What's standing out to you about his comments about the X-Men, Steve Rogers, Tony, all that kind of stuff? And what's your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, they're leading up to an event that in the comics was designed to collapse timelines and reboot the universe again from scratch.
Right, yeah.
And they're doing what they did in the comics, and they're doing it in real life. And it makes perfect sense to me because, look, superhero aging works well in something like The Dark Knight Returns. But if you're making action, adventure, sci-fi, fantasy stories, as you are with superheroes, who wants to watch a 70-year-old geriatric? Oh, man, after that fight, I don't know if I can get out of this wheelchair. I mean, it's not going to
work for Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it's not like that. And so I think what they've got canonically is whatever happens after the Avengers Secret Wars, the universe is reset, the multiverse collapses. So within the MCU, they have an excuse. Everything old is new again. And when the dust settles, everything is rebooted. Because if you think about it, how many genres? I mean, Doctor Who has been built the regenerations into the characters, so people know since the early 60s, Doctor Who regenerates. And then when they got to the end of the regenerations, they changed it and said, oh, he can do it again or more. But in this case, the universe is literally going to collapse and be rebuilt anew. So you have a great opportunity where in universe, the audience is actually expecting to see, I can't wait to see who they're going to cast in all of these roles. It adds an element of excitement. It renews the whole universe, but it does it in such a way that comic fans expect it, movie fans expect it, and it leaves a blank slate, and you are no longer tied. I mean, it's going to end up being 20 years. Whatever the new universe is, it's going to be 20 years since Doomsday is 26, Secret Wars is 27, and the next whatever thing is happening, the new movies are going to come out 20 years after the first Iron Man came out. It's time. I mean, I don't know how many movie franchises. Bond was pretty much rebooted when they started with Roger Moore in the 70s with Live and Let Die. Things change, but 20 years? Everything old is new again. They've got an entire clean slate to start from scratch. You know what else Kevin Feige said? He said that he doesn't know, he has no plans to leave Marvel yet, and he wants to keep making big movies, but he did insinuate that he doesn't want to just make only Marvel movies for the rest of his life. It would also be a great time for him to leave and move on to go somewhere else to make other movies that he wants to make and have a whole new creative team come in and rebuild the universe from scratch, allowing those new creators to put their imprimatur on things and give us something really cool.
He went out of his way to point out that he has 2 years left on his contract.
until
2 years.
2027 after Secret
And
Wars.
I was going to say, what happens in about 2 years? Oh, right. And then I think we're going to see Kevin Feige. Like, I've been saying this for years, Rob. I don't think Kevin Feige is long to stay at Marvel. And at some point, he's going to be running a studio. I mean, he already runs Marvel. He already runs a sub studio. But if I'm DeLuca and Abdi, I'm getting a little bit worried because if Kevin Feige comes on the open market, you don't think David Zaslav is going to throw Brinks trucks full of money at him to come and be the head of Warner Brothers? He probably will.
Well, if
I
their
mean,
track
I know we're
record
getting off
keeps
topic.
going, though.
Yeah, then maybe you won't want to make a change. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Kevin Feige's confirming that, like, once we get on the other side of the new Avengers films, these returning X-Men characters from the Fox era will be no more. Like, it's just kind of a special thing for these Avengers films. And we could be seeing recasting of some key characters. Like, I don't think they're going to recast all of them. I think we're going to see a lot of the same cast in the MCU, but some key ones like Tony Stark, maybe Steve Rogers. How do you feel about that? What would be the approach you would take to make that transition happen? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.